MMS Sessions. This is MMS Sessions number 9. Thanks for tuning in online. Thanks to the audience here today. We've got a very special person. We've got Matt Parsons here, who's the CEO of Ditto Music. He'll be talking about how to release your music without the backing of big labels. So yeah, if you've got any questions at home, you can tweet us, hashtag MMS Sessions at Midi School. I'll be here with the iPad and I'll be able to ask those questions to Matt. Matt, thanks very much for joining us and taking it away. Cool.
Cool. Great. Okay then, so at some point I may stand up because I can't help myself. I'm sorry, online audience, I'm really going to try my best because if I do this, you can't see me anymore. Anyway, right then, so Ditto. My name's Matt, I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Ditto Music. So, who am I and why am I here? This is the startup story where I embarrass myself and tell a few adventures that involve hillbillies and a whole wild ride. So many years ago, me and my brother played in bands. I was a drummer, he was a singer-songwriter kind of person. And we played for like 7 or 8 years. We used to do this kind of acoustic hip-hop thing, basically just whatever was going around at the time. We weren't too bad. So it got to about 2004, 2005. And at that time, all we ever wanted to do was get signed. We wanted to get signed by Sony, signed by Warner. We just want to have that blinkered view of all we want to do is get signed by a major label, which unfortunately a lot of bands still have these days. That was all we wanted to do. So we actually managed to get a management deal with, okay, some of you are going to recognise this. I did this to a uni a few weeks ago and didn't get anything. The same management as So Solid and Blazing Squad. Okay, yes, got a thumbs up at the back. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I dropped that 3 weeks ago because I suppose these kids are so young, never heard of them. I felt so old. Anyway, so we got this management deal with the same people who manage that, and we were really, really pleased. Finally, someone's actually investing in us. So he got us a showcase gig at Sony. So must have been 2 months later after we did this deal. So this is like 2004 going into 2005. We had the showcase gig in Sony, and it was in the basement of the Sony building. It was in their private rooms, in their studio, and it was. I mean, we were just saying to each other on the way down, all we got to do is turn up and we'll get signed. We're going to be millionaire, Rodney. We're going to be rock stars. You know, we were just idiots. Anyway, so we turned up there, and as a drummer, my kick drum broke in the first song. My brother has crazy idea of taping 2 mics together and rolling around the stage. Backtrack half an hour before it all went pear-shaped. Our manager comes up to us and he says, "Right, guys, everybody's got the songs. All the labels have got the songs. People we've never even heard of have turned up. This is going to be awesome. Right, have you had any practice of playing live?" We're like, "No, we don't need to do that. No, of course we know. We've just been, just chilling." Anyway, so they said, "Oh, well, what about all the songs that you've written? The songs the labels love?" It's like, well, okay, so we took a different direction and now we do ragga. Anybody know what ragga is? Hands up. You were the first person to laugh. What's your name?
Aaron.
Aaron. What's the definition of ragga?
Comes from the dancehall from the Jamaican.
It does.
Comes from the dancehall Jamaican.
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Aaron. Do I look like a ragga kind of guy?
No.
I love the music, but it was a bad choice. So we were doing that kind of stuff and it just all went wrong. We hadn't rehearsed, we changed our music, and like partway through people started walking out. There's about this many people there, so 30 odd. People started walking out. Our manager walked out, and at the end of it there's the sound man and he's just sitting there with his head in his hands, just shaking his head going, "Boys, what have you done?" And after that, Muff Winwood came up to us, R.I.P. and we thought he was just one of the janitors or the office staff because he was just dressed in a scruffy jumper. We didn't realise who the hell this guy was, and he came up to us and said, "Oh yeah, you guys need to I like the songs, but you need 6 months of touring on the road and stuff and practicing." We're like, "Nah, what do you know? Go away." Muff Winwood. Right, morons we were. So at that point, a couple of months later, we somehow managed to get a licensing deal with a major label. Can't say who it is at the moment, but I like because it went very wrong. Licensing deal with a major label. People probably got fired for it, with a bit of publishing involved in it. Now that was all going okay until it got towards our single release date. By this time, we were such divas and morons, we had actually pushed the label away so far that we got fired for it. The last thing we asked them to do was fly a plane above Reading Festival, slandering Johnny Burrell from Razorlight and saying some naughty words. We absolutely lost the plot, so they fired us, and good for them. We should have been fired. So at this point, it's going into 2005, and we got dropped from our label, still had some fan base. And who of you guys are musicians in here? Yeah, quite a lot of musicians in the place. Do you ever get sick of that question when you see your mates and you haven't seen them for a couple of months or something, and they say, "Oh, how's the music going?" And unless you tell them something devastating, like you've just come back from a world tour, they're just not impressed at all. That's not really how it works. And we just got sick of like people asking us, "Oh, you know, you guys, did you get signed by that label? And why aren't you on the TV?" We're like, "Oh, forget." So in the end, we decided, well, screw this. We're just going to start our own label. And that's what we did. And that was around about the start of the summer in 2005. The thing is, around about that time, there was no real mechanism for anyone to release a song unless you were on a label. So we started our own label, took about 6 months, and we released something on this Christmas Day 2005. We actually released a single. But all we'd done within that 6 to 8 months is just start up a label and put a single out. And that was pretty much it. Because we started the label, and the day after, we still had no idea what the hell we were doing. We had no money, no context, and no roadmap at all. Lucy?
It wasn't a Christmas #1 you were trying to get, was it?
No, it wasn't, thankfully. No, the reason we did that is, that's a long story that'll take 20 minutes, but it was supposed to be. There was a reason we did that. Another story. So we did that, went in the back end of the charts, and from that point, we had a record label and we blagged a few distribution contracts. So we went back to Birmingham in a horrible little council flat, and we're thinking, the label sacked us, singles got to the end of the charts. What exactly do we do next? So we went to the studio a few weeks later, and some of our mates in the rehearsal studio were saying, "Oh, could you put a record out for us? We heard you got this label, because we can't get signed either, and we got this fan base, and we want to put a record out and sell stuff." And we were like, "I guess, maybe." So we did 1 or 2. And then more people started asking, "Oh, can you put a record out for us?" And we were like, "Dude, we got a day job." I was working in computers, and my brother had a few little companies. And we're like, okay, maybe if you pay us a little bit, we'll do it. And this kind of, over 2006, this turned into a business idea. Now, has anyone started a business even if you're a performer or a producer or you're managing a label, whatever, it's all the same thing. It's all basically a business. It's you working out how to create a revenue stream and how to make a living out of whatever it is you're doing, whether you're producing, performing, label, booking agent, whatever it is, it all comes down to the structure of the business. So we took 2006 trying to figure out how exactly to run a business. Now, what that involved was we sold everything we owned. I got fired from Donald & Aitchison Opticians. See, there's one name I'll say. Donald & Aitchison Opticians fired me for running a record label instead of doing any work. It's a fair cop, but still, rascals. Anyway, so that happened. So we sold everything we owned. There was nothing left in the house apart from a computer and a sofa. We didn't have a TV. And every week it was the choice of, do we pay the heating or do we pay the electric bill? So we just wore coats. And it was hard. I'm not going to harp on about it, but it was tough. I mean, we couldn't afford water for the washing machine. So I bought a £20 bike off eBay, and I used to cycle across Birmingham to my parents' house to get my washing done because I couldn't afford the water, and nick most of their food while I was there because I only had like a £12 a week food budget. So I just used to come back with a load of stuff in my bag. They didn't notice. Thanks, Dad. So yeah, we did that, and over 2006. We started to really figure this thing out. We had this label. We knew bands wanted to put records out. So we saw the problem that affected us. We were trying to develop a solution for it. Towards the end of 2006, we started dealing with a band called Cooper, which is K-O-O-P-A. They're not around anymore, but they were from Colchester, Essex. Now we started speaking to their manager, and we worked out how to get them into the top 40. So basically, we engineered a top 40 for them. We worked closely with the manager, and we created and bent a few chart rules. In the chart company, there's now unofficially something called the Cooper rule, which is something to do with mobile phone payments, but you don't want to go there because it'll just get me in trouble. So yes, though we did all that stuff, and then in the start of 2007, we got the first ever unsigned band into the UK top 40. It's in the Guinness Book of Records as well, and it was the first ever digital-only single. So that was it. We've had our first thing, and over that week we got this phone call early on a Sunday morning, and where we were living was in the ghetto. I had a car, my brother wasn't driving at the moment, so anytime we wanted to go to the corner shop, it was fighting off the crackheads. It was horrendous. But like I said, we just sold everything we owned, found somewhere cheap, and we just got on with it. So we had a phone call really early in the morning, and as you know, if you live in a dodgy area, if you get a phone call early in the morning, it's never good. But this one was, normally it was the police are outside or something bad's going to happen. But this one was, hello, it's the chart company, you've got a top 40. And as an artist or as a producer or whatever you guys are doing, and we'll come to that in a sec, there's going to be one moment within your career that is going to be that moment of clarity. And it's going to be the one moment where everything changes. And for us, that was it. I got off the phone to my brother, told him what happened, and we just stood there. Couldn't say anything. It was a moment, because we knew nothing else would ever be the same again. And we knew we'd worked for it. And we spent the last 12 years working our asses off, and it all brought to this point. And this was the start. We knew this was the start of something big. And from that point, people just started throwing money at us. They did. We moved into an office in Birmingham, March 07, started hiring staff. Through 2007, we had about another 7 top 40s. And then it got to, let's see, we did TV in 08 and 09, got towards 2010. And we were looking at America. A lot of you guys are going to be looking at the American market. Obviously, it's a big market for your label or your music or whatever. We're looking at that. And Lee been over to Nashville and New York and those kind of places quite a lot. So we looked at Nashville, we thought maybe this is the place for us. And towards the end of it, we had a private investor come on board, and he said, well, okay, I'll give you X amount of million for so much % in your company. And you guys that are running companies, hopefully at some point, as you go further, as you go there, a few years down the line, that's the kind of thing that happens these days, especially if you're towards the tech side. Lots of investment going on, and Manchester's a great hub for that, actually. So that happened. So we got towards the end of 2010. And me and Lee were talking. He said, well, we always wanted to open in the States. And I said, look, the investment thing's happening, and we agreed, let's just do it. Let's just, Lee got 2 other mates. One was staff, one was a friend. Went off to the States on the 6-month visa. And that was it. And then a couple of weeks later, I got a phone call from the lawyers saying, oh, by the way, this private investor has completely changed the deal, and now he wants more money for less percentage. Less, you get the idea. It was not good. So spoke to Lee and was like, no, we just can't accept this. It was not enough money for too much percentage. It's not going to work. And Lee's like, well, I'm already in Nashville. I don't know what I'm doing. Because it's just me and him. I've never even been to America before. Sorry, third time he's been to America. Never been to Nashville much. Doesn't know anybody, and they were staying in a motel at the time because we were just about to get the money, so we self-financed it out of the business. And we're like, what exactly do we do? So this will happen to you as well in business. We made the choice, bit the bullet, and we self-financed it. Me and Lee did off our own backs for the first year. So me and Lee took a massive, and I mean massive, pay cut for the first 9 months of that. I didn't go out for a beer for 9 months, and when I did, it tasted great. I don't even like beer, I'm a vodka guy, but it tasted fantastic. But this is the stuff you do when you're starting business. You have to make these sacrifices, otherwise you're going to be still sat in your flat, and the next time you see your mate down the pub and he says, oh, what have you been up to these days? What do you want to tell him? Do you want to tell him you've actually done something with your music career, or do you want to tell him that you've been sitting there watching Neighbours? Is Neighbours still going? Don't know. Presume it is. Don't know. If you could tweet in to at Midi School, is Neighbours still going? Thank you. Thankfully, we're too cool to know. Yes, good one. So what the hell was I talking about? Anyway, so we self-financed it. That was horrible. And then a couple of months in, once they'd finished sofa surfing and all this kind of stuff, they finally found a place to live, and it was this little mini ranch on the outskirts of Nashville. Nashville was a really big place, so it took about an hour to an hour and a half to even drive into the office. So there's the 3 of them there and a dog called Glennis or something. Lee, what was the dog called? Tweet in, please. So the only thing was with this ranch is the previous tenants were hillbillies with shotgun with a clear alcohol problem, and maybe a little bit of crystal meth in there. They didn't really move out. So, okay, so what happened with that is Lee and the other guys, which was James and Craig, they would be in Nashville in the bars, talking to bands, all this kind of stuff, till maybe 2, 3 in the morning. They would drive back to the house. So they get there, it's anything in between 2 and 4, depending on the night went. They would creep past the hillbillies who were, at that time, were passed out in the front room with their shotguns in their laps. Go into the back room or somewhere in the kitchen, have a sleep for about 3 or 4 hours, wake up, tiptoe back them so they didn't get murdered, and then go back into the office. And I think they showered at the YMCA for several months. You try arguing with hillbillies with shotguns with a clear meth and alcohol problem. That's what it is. So anyway, so we came out the other side of that one, and now we have an office and everything. Finally put it together because we put the work in, and we just did what had to be done and made the sacrifices. The year after, we were nominated for an export award. We had 2,000 artists in America. We went straight up to 18,000 by the end of the year. We now have offices in San Diego and Austin, Texas, Nashville, England. We have Liverpool and London. One in Melbourne, which opened up in May 13. So things are growing, and now we have about 85,000 artists, 17,000 labels, and life is good. And next week I'm off to South Pine. Yeah. So there. Right, so that's who I am and why I'm here. It's been a hell of a ride, and that's how you turn a frown upside down. So the next thing is, I really want to know who you are and why you're here. Now I've blabbed. So hands up again, who's a musician, who class themselves as a straight and out musician? Okay then. Gentleman there next to Lucy, because you're the closest. What's your name?
Tony.
Tony, okay. Tell us about how's life as a musician at the moment.
It isn't at the moment, but since I was sort of 12-year-old, I sort of played in bands.
Okay.
Probably stopped 4 years ago when the drummer went to Oz, so I sort of just packed it in really, but I still play guitar at home, that kind of thing.
Awesome.
But I've just started the music producers course here for the electronic music, because I sort of listen to that kind of stuff more these days, sort of thing. So, so
Awesome.
that's where I'm at now, really.
Cool, good say. I'm sure all of you have a similar story. Just keep plugging at it, keep working hard, keep making a sacrifice, and keep going. Excellent. So, anybody running a record label? Oh, that was firm. Can you pass the mic over to him? Sorry to put you on the spot, by the way, but you sure you were expecting this? What's your name?
My name's Neil.
Neil's Neil. Okay. How long's the label been going, and what's it called?
1 month ago.
Okay.
I started it. Yeah, but I've had the idea for a while. But I made it official. Yeah, about a month ago.
Okay.
It's called Flexion Recordings.
How do you spell that?
Flexion.
Flexion. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Why did you start it?
Because I have a clear idea about what music I want to release, and I don't want to rely on anyone else to do that.
Cool.
And I do want to sign artists as well that I admire. So
yeah, I was just about to ask, is it your music or is it other people's as well? So it's how many? Have you signed any more bands yet?
I haven't signed anyone yet.
Okay. Cool. Well, we're going to go over some stuff in a short while that we'll talk about how to sign bands, labels, and all that kind of stuff. So some of this stuff should be good for you. Anybody else who's just into production and engineering, that kind of stuff? Okay. A couple two on the back row, right there with some kind of headgear on. That's him. What's your name, sir?
Craig.
Craig. Okay. So are you into the production, the engineering?
Yeah,
what are you into?
with me actually, I did a sound engineering and design degree.
Okay.
But I'm wanting to get more into the electronic music production side of it, and obviously I want to create my own music, but it would be nice to, set up a label for pretty much the same reasons everyone else really is, because I don't want to rely on someone else's opinion to whether the music's good enough or not. If I believe in it, I want to promote it myself, whether it's mine or somebody else's,
That's the best reason anyone's...
But I've got not one clue where to get started, to be honest. So
okay, well, we're going to talk about that later, but that is the best reason you can ever have to start a label, so thank you for that. So next thing is starting a record label. Who knew? This is crazy. So we're talking about why would you start a record label. So first thing is to release your own music. As artists, a lot of people are going to want to do that because in the same as it was for me 10 years ago, you can't get signed or you don't want to get signed. Now you want to put your own records out. And as you were saying, Craig, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, as Craig was saying, you don't want to be at the beck and call of somebody else telling you what to do. You just want to do your own thing. So that's one of the reasons. Also to sign other artists. I'm sure there's, artists know other artists and other producers. You're going to know your mates or people you've known around Manchester, Liverpool. They're awesome artists. Maybe they need a little bit of help, a little bit of direction from you. So tonight we're going to go over how you can establish that. And sorry, Craig?
I was just going to say, particularly bands I've recorded and done live gigs for, I've sort of sometimes I wanted to say, hang on, can I stay with you? Do you need an engineer or do you want something recorded? And it's just a way to say, oh yeah, I've got this label would be a bigger, rod for the to reel them in, so
sure.
to speak.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just to review what Craig was saying to the online viewers. So if you meet a band at a gig or so forth, or if you work with them, it's good to be able to offer them that next step. So you can work with them as a label, offer them more services. It's just kind of that next professional step for you. So the next thing is to establish a brand identity. Does everyone have a favourite record label? What's your favourite record label? Anybody? Neil, is it? Was it Neil?
Yeah.
Yes. Shout it out. All right.
Just shout out.
Just shout out. I'll
Oscar Ton.
Oh, Oscar Ton, yeah.
Oscar
Where
Ton.
we're going, yeah.
Cool. Why is that? You know, I should just pass it to the man. So I always have one more question. Sorry. Yeah. So why is that?
Everything about it is so clear, like the vision for the label and the music and just the whole identity of the label just is so clear, and you can identify with it immediately. Even though the artwork might change, you immediately know an Oscar Tom release. So,
see, that's always about brand identity. It's about people identifying with the label and hopefully building up a relationship with them. That everything this label puts out, I'm most likely to be interested in. I like the ethos of the label, all that kind of stuff. So it's so important to work on a brand identity, and we'll look into shortly how you can actually establish that for yourself. So thanks, man. Next one is work and perform on a professional level. Now I'm leading to something on the next screen, so I'll come back to that. The opportunities open to labels are much greater than musicians, and mainly. So going back to work and perform at a professional level, the opportunities open to labels are better than musicians. Now, on the next screen, I'm going to show you something, and it's probably going to be a bit insulting, and I apologise for that. This is not insulting to you, it's insulting to the industry in general. And unfortunately, this is a truth to all you industry people out there. You probably don't know who you are because you're too pretentious. But anyway, the following statement is, I believe, to be true. Not sure if you agree with that, I'll explain why. So the statement says, no one wants to talk to musicians. Doesn't that seem like a bit of a paradox, considering the entire music industry is structured around musicians? The only reason the music industry exists is because of musicians. If you take musicians out of the music industry, there is nothing. So there seems to be this thing in the industry where people in labels, people in booking agencies, or whatever part of the industry they're from, don't seem to want to talk one-on-one with an artist. Now, they all may have their own reasons for this. Whatever those are, I don't personally understand them because I really love talking to artists and people are new and starting up, just to find out what their challenges are and see how I can help them and just kind of see what's going on with them in their career. But no one wants to talk to musicians. So what you do about that is, no, go back a sec. What you do about that is go back to the screen before where you're talking about communicating on a professional level. So, for instance, if you're at a networking event, it's better for you to introduce yourself as, even if, it's actually better to introduce yourself as a student than a musician. They'll treat you like a leper. It's unfortunately. So if you're on a professional level of, I'm a student, I've got a label, I've got this management company, they will see you as an equal and then you can do business. It's a ridiculous situation and I cannot say enough how warped and bad that is, but that's what it is. So the next time you're at you're at an event and you're a musician, don't go up to them and say, I'm a musician, because it just won't work. For some reason, go up to them and talk about, actually, you know what, go up to them and make a friend. That sounds cheesy, but that is actually the best thing you can do at a networking event, is go and make a contact, because the entire creative industry revolves around relationships. It doesn't matter if there's some company who's got the best, most awesome service or product or whatever it is. If I can't stand to be in the same room as them, I won't do business. And it's exactly the same for every other person in the creative industry. It's entirely about who you know. It's about doing lunch. It's about getting to know them. It's about going to see them DJ. It's about that. It's establishing a contact and a friend. Because if you go to someone and the first thing that they perceive you as addressing is what you can do for them, what they can do for you, then that's not a friend. That's not a good contact. If you have one of your mates and the only thing he ever says is ask you for stuff, how long is he going to be your mate for? If the only thing he ever does when he's down the pub is talk about himself all the time, that can only really go so far. So with these people, it's better to make a contact, and even if all you do is right at the end of it, mate, actually no, if you've gone through the conversation of say 5-10 minutes of just talking about life in general, and at the end of it you say, by the way, I'm a musician, that is actually a much better way of communicating than starting out with, I'm a musician, because the fence will go up. That's just what it is. Yeah, please.
So from an artist point of view, the reason I would look at getting signed by a certain label would be because they have other artists signed to them which are the same kind of music.
Sure.
and you get the benefits of maybe collaborating with them or going on tour with them. Would you close those doors if you started your own label? Do you think
No.
would it hinder it at all?
Absolutely not. No. We'll go into this later, but there's certain contracts that are intrinsic to running a record label, and a lot of people start a record label for the sake of branding themselves and their bands, having a professional machine where they can take themselves and their own bands to the next level. And I mean, who's your favourite artist? In general.
Third Pie, I guess.
Who?
Third Pie. There's some DJs from London.
Okay, cool. Do you know what label they're on? I don't, but
They have their own. It's called Release Records.
okay, cool. So we'll talk. I don't know that, so that's your thing. But I'll talk about Adele, who's playing down the road, I think, tonight. I saw loads of signs for her. Now she's currently on XL, I think, or Beggars or whatever it is. She would have started off on a small label. Most artists of that kind of thing, they'll start off on a small label. Obviously with your guys, they start their own thing. Most people will start off on a smaller label and they'll get signed to someone bigger. So the label is just a vehicle for whatever you want to achieve. It puts you in a professional level, professional circumstance for you to achieve whatever the hell that is. Whether it's to have a career where all you do is release your artist music and you don't look at anybody else and you purely do your label thing, that's absolutely fine. If you want to be, you can still have a label and be a manager. It's not just about releasing records, it's about finding revenue streams in music. Now with a record label, obviously your primary thing is to put records out, and that's kind of what you do. But it's about developing artists, it's about nurturing them, it's about finding revenue streams for them which benefit you and the artist. It's about the vehicle for getting you wherever you want to go. So if you want to start your own label, that will get you and your band and wherever it is to the next professional level. And it means that when you have your label, you can go to a networking event and you start to know the kind of people that you want to sign to. Because these guys are going to be at whatever AIM events on, or Liverpool Sound City, I mean, they're going to be knocking about. And if you've got your label, they've got a label, you start talking, and then, you make friends with them, swap cards, a couple of months later, you send them, just been working on this track, what you think about it? And maybe from that point on, they'll think, actually, no, this kid's got some good stuff, let's think about signing him, see if he wants to do a licensing deal. So it's an in for you to operate on a professional level, and also to learn a lot about the music industry and start making some contacts. Anyway, moving on before I start talking too much. Starting a record label, how do you do it? Now, there's most people do have some kind of intrinsic business structure to this. The options in this country are something like a limited company. That's the most common thing. It's the easiest thing to do. You can set that up with Company House or whatever. You can have directors and shareholders and all that stuff. Or you can be a sole trader. So with that, it would just operate under you. You pay your own tax. I'm sure you all know about that kind of stuff. So get a business bank account because you want somewhere to put the money into, so you know what's going on. You can have balance your own accounts and stuff. Signing others or sign yourself. It sounds a bit weird that you sign yourself, but actually, yes, you do need something on paper, because if someone ever came to you to license or sub-license it or something, it's just a better thing to do. So getting a distributor. With we'll talk about distribution a little bit, but certain distributors, they will only deal with labels of a certain stable, because they know that there's certain they guarantee certain sales, for instance. So it gives you a better position on that. Releasing great records. It's all about the records you love, working with artists you like, and putting out records. So that's another thing, reason to start a record label. Booking tours and live events. You have this professional structure. So when you phone up a venue in Liverpool, you will say, I'm so and so from this records, as opposed to I'm an artist, give me a gig. If you do that, they'll put the phone down. If you do it, say I'm on this label, we have this band, they're touring, we're trying to put together a national tour, can I send you something? That is just a more professional way of dealing with it, and that will get you a lot further. Finding alternate avenues to make revenue. As you're a business, and as there's certain things that opens up to a whole less of infrastructure to get you going. So potential problems. The next day, as with me and Lee, you still have no contacts, no money, and no roadmap, because every day in the creative industries, every day is a blank piece of paper. It is exactly what you make of it. If you want to open a Betfred, because I tried to find that on the way here and got lost. If you want to open up a Betfred, they're probably franchises or something, so you just apply for a franchise, open the doors, and that's about it, really. If you want to open up an offie, you find somewhere, you put a load of booze in it, you open the doors, and that's about it. If you want to start a record label or a creative company, what exactly do you do the next day? Who knows? Well, actually I do. But so we'll look at that. So no mentors. That's the one of the biggest reasons why me and Lee didn't get anywhere within the 6 months we had a label is we had no one to ask about what to do next. We had no idea how to put a record out, so we did it all ourselves. We had no idea that you're actually supposed to tour the record, didn't know that. We had no idea that, you know, all the stuff you're supposed to do. We didn't do any promotion at all. We had no pluggers, we had no PR team whatsoever, no reviews in anything, and somehow we thought it'd get in the charts. It's a miracle it got to number 70. Anyway, so is there an easy way? Now, this is something where we get to a certain thing that's... Now, this was invented for the best reason, which is because it's needed. And 10 years ago, when me and Lee struggled to start a label, there was still the same problems as there are today. So about 3 years ago, we were speaking to our labels, and we came up with this record label in a box. So it's a physical box that looks like that. It's really pretty. And we had some love from we had about 30 different, if you Google record label in a box, there's endless press reviews. It went down really well. The Times did a 2-page feature on it. The guy, the reporter in the Times, Nick Fields, love him. He started his own label who were looking to sign Rockabilly. Anybody? I know, just put that out there. Also, Mix Mag and DJ Mag covered something as well. The guys in the office started a label there because a lot of people in media, they'll manage bands or they work with bands and stuff. So, why does this exist? As I said, it's a lot of people will start a company because they have a solution and they'll work backwards to find a problem. That is the worst way to start a company. You're inventing problems that don't exist to try and make money out of people. That doesn't work, and in creative industries it definitely doesn't work because it involves major trust issues. So here's a video that I really hope works and shows me without a beard. Ready for this? Please work. Get in.
A record label had always been something so institutionalised and out of reach to us as musicians. The first question we asked ourselves was, how do we take apart every piece of that institution, repackage it into something powerful and capable, but also personal? We designed a whole new product range specific to the challenges we faced as musicians trying to start a label. The result is a unique online and offline experience. With our hands-on help, you're connected to networking events, promotion, all the tools you need as a record label. With all these features, the possibilities of what you can go out and achieve are endless. So that's a little promo thing we did put together by a company called Sparkle based in Liverpool. So this is what the physical box entails. So laser pointer. You've got the box and the certificate, which covers like limited company, PPL, all that kind of stuff. The pen, which is partly a USB, but also pen for signing contracts. These was your contract pack. So there's 6 contracts in this. And so there is, get this right, there's licensing, management, development, sync, 360 and merch. And we'll go over, those are the essential 6 contracts. Don't worry if you didn't write that down, we'll go over in a second, I'll tell you what all those mean. And there's a sexy journal. So for the best question we have during, actually the best question we have by the end of the session, which includes in here and online, they will get a sexy record label in the box journal. Do you see it? It's basically in here, it's mapped out, so there's a meeting section, a calendar section, a contact section, and a sexy pen as well. Sorry, I know this isn't best, it's the best we could get in the office on the way out. We used to have yo-yos. We did. We run out of them. Damn stupid. Anyway, so best question gets a little prize. Right then, so next. The online system has the limited company setup and paperwork, 12 months unlimited distribution, that goes to 200 stores and you put out as much stuff as you want. The legal contract wizard, let me just explain how that works, because if anyone's seen a legal contract, it's about 20 pages a bump and about 7 variables. Most contracts look exactly the same, it's the same old crap, just with a few little details in it. So we spent 9 or 10 months with various lawyers working out a solid contract that we could just take variables in and out of. So you go into the system, you say, I want a management contract, and who are you, who are they, what's the commission, when does it start, what's the record, go. And then in about 20 seconds it gives you a contract. Because the reason that exists is because the problem labels were having is they didn't want to spend $1,000 or so on legal fees signing a band when they could just spend that on recording.
So some of them were getting to the point of like, I want to sign this band, but I know my lawyer and their lawyer will play ping pong. It'll cost me $1,000, which I'll have to cover at least. In this way, they just get the whole thing, and they can just knock out contracts whenever the hell they want. Online events calendar, as I said, one of the most important things in creative industries is getting to know people. And there's so many sessions like this where you're learning things, or there's networking events or whatever. Especially around Manchester, there's a hell of a lot of stuff. There's that you can go to and you can make contacts. That's the only way you, as a creative person in creative industries, is going to move forward, is through your contact book. Startup loan. We partner with a few companies that do that as well. So you can have what me and Lee didn't have, which was finance. So this time you can pay your electric bill and your heating bill. Yay! One-to-one career building session. So that goes on. We have a few of those, and that goes on every month or so. We'll have like a mentor meeting with people. There's a forum. We can ask questions and lots more mentoring. Another video, for no particular reason other than I like this video. Let's watch a video. So this is Adam. This is kind of the stories of the kind of people that are starting labels. So in the week, he's an accounts assistant, goes to the venue. So when you start a label, it just provides that extra avenue of you to take your project to the next level. I mean, the people we have starting labels, they're an optician, they're a truck driver, they're just everybody that you can ever from all cross walks of society. And the reason they're doing it is mostly because they love the music. They've found bands they want to sign. They want to move things on to the next level. Maybe it's for their own career or whatever. Or it's just, maybe sometimes it's just so they've actually got something good to talk about for a change. And something actually going on in their lives they have control over, and they can just try and have that as their creative outlet. Oh, there we go. So to talk a little bit about distribution. So when you label an individual artist, digital distribution and physical is going to be how you get your records in stores, because stores will not deal with you directly. The reason for that is, and it's a pretty good reason, is for instance with iTunes, say there's 1 million artists, there's more than that, say there's 1 million artists on iTunes, you're probably going to have, to that ratio, maybe 1,000 people with distribution contracts. Who would you rather do the tax and legals for? 1 million people or 1,000? So it's just, for logistical reason, that's what it is, which means that artists and labels need to go through a distributor. So there's the 20 to 25% commission model and the 0%-ish commission model. Now there's people like The Orchard, Believe Digital and InGrooves. Now things with these people, they won't actually charge you an upfront fee, but they will charge a commission on sales, which means from their point of view, they need to be very sure that you're going to make money. Because the only way they make money is 20% of what you sell. So for new artists and upcoming labels, it's a lot harder to get signed to these people. They may love the music, and obviously these are good companies. They may like the music, but at the end of the day, it's got to add up for them. So the other choice is the 0% commission kind of people, and there's me, and there's no reason why my logo is any bigger than anybody else's. So we do distribution. So it's £49 a year, all in. You can have as much as you want. That's what we do. There are other companies that do this, like. Sorry, it's something happened in the artwork. I don't know why this is going. There's TuneCore, I think that says. And they do something, well, they do just distribution. We also do promotion and record label stuff as well. There we go. There we go. There's also CD Baby. Good company, nothing against them at all. It seems to be more to do with the American market because it's all to do with physical CD sales. So if you're an English act, you have to actually post your CDs over to America for them to sell from their warehouse in Portland, Oregon, which seems a bit of a long way around doing it if your next door neighbour wants to buy your album. But there we go. They charge 9% commission on sales. I can only imagine that's because of the branding, because they've been around a long time. I'm not sure why people would want to, they charge like $35 an album. So they're quite expensive and they charge a commission. Yeah, massive company, very successful. I guess it's, I don't know, you tell me why, but good company. Right, that goes off, that goes there, that goes there. I really went to town on this today. Yeah, sorry about that. Right, so releasing great records. So that's the next step, and we're going to look. Oh dear, we're going to look at that, and then we're going to do the next bit, which hopefully doesn't get me sued. Right, so audio, WAV or MP3. If you have a WMA file, you need to leave the room now because you're a bad person. WAV or MP3. Artwork is 15, and I think it's actually 1550 now, but it's pretty big. Hopefully 300 dpi, so we can actually read it. The next thing is metadata. What's the definition of metadata? What is metadata? Craig?
Is it just searchable data, searchable fields, basically?
It is. It's what's the artist name, what's the record called, when's it out, what's the genre. It's all the text you see. So on a CD, you'll be on the front and back. So, dear me. Right, so this is, we release 300 to 500 albums, singles and EPs every single week. So just to frame this, just remind me of someone I haven't spoke to yet who's a musician. Musicians, hold your hands up. You were first. Young man, what's your name? Do you want to pass the mic to Lucy?
Martin, yeah.
Martin?
Yeah, Martin.
Oh, Martin, right, okay. When you put your next record, do you release records?
Not yet.
Okay, cool. If you were to release a record and you had your tracks done and you were about to, put a CD together or release it online or whatever, and you were thinking, okay, I need some artwork, how would you go about that process? What's logical for you to do?
I think I would just approach some professional graphic artist that I admire.
Okay.
I like his art, and then just and go to a person that I think can represent and I think his art can be somehow like expansion of my music.
That's exactly the right answer. Thank you, Martin. That is hopefully everybody else had the same thing in mind. If you're ever going to release artwork, music, the artwork is going to be basically a graphical representation of your music. It's going to be the first thing people see, whether it's on the CD or online. So you need to really, really work at that. It is, I'm not saying the music isn't important, but it's very important because it's the first thing people see. Okay, bearing that in mind, here is when artwork goes wrong, because some people, it seems, they want to record it and then it'll be an afterthought about the artwork. And sometimes it goes very wrong. Ready for this one? Now, I've looked through our database and found artists that I don't think are with us anymore. Apologies if you are, this is all banter, okay? Honestly, it's Lucy's fault. Right, it's ready? This is what happens when artwork goes wrong. Any thoughts on that one? Somehow you cannot look away. Right then, so this is the first thing that happens when it. Now, I'm going to put the next one on, and I need to know from, okay, we'll go through the front row. What was, after we show this, what was the first thing your eyes looked at? You look guilty. You look a bit guilty. Yeah. Okay, so yes, this is someone's artwork. I'm not sure whether I hate this or I love it, but it's quite distracting, don't you feel? Right then, and the next artwork, I challenge you to be able to read this. I'm not sure. I don't know, but everyone's going to go like this. Right, anyway, moving on. So we do get into the realms of, okay, just plain creepy. So any thoughts on this? Oh, I'm not sure if this is up on if this is on camera, but anybody want to? Lucy, do you want to explain to us what you can see on the screen?
I don't even know what it sounds like.
You don't want to.
I'm not even sure. It looks like.
Creative use of paint.
Okay,
Yes,
you've got the word art at the top. You have this guy looking a bit rapey, and he's superimposed it over what I hope is his own kid, and it's better or worse. Who's like some 3-year-old, and it's righteous culling. It is. What is he calling and why is it righteous nation? Whew, okay, now just as creepy is look in the eyes. Look in the eyes. These eyes will follow you home tonight. Yeah. Okay. So
The italicized Comic Sans in the bottom as well.
yes.
Setting.
Yeah, they really like their word art, don't they? I'm glad you put it at the front there. Now, and the next one, equally as creepy, and let's hope we don't meet him on a dark night. Yes, quite fitting, don't you think? It's just me. Yeah, right.
It's like Barry Chuck.
Okay, so the next one, now bear in mind, the next one isn't, I wouldn't say it's bad artwork, it's just the way it's been put together. Not a great use of space. No. And the next artwork, the next artwork is an interesting one. It's not grey artwork. It's not that bad. It's in here because when we... Okay, I'll just show you it. We released... whatever happened to him, really. We actually released this in 2008. Sam Smith, Bad Day All Week. Cracking voice. Song, sorry Sam, was horrendous. The song was terrible, and the video was him in a school doing whatever the hell he's doing now. At the time we had a TV show, and his manager was asking us to come on the TV show, and we said no because the song was too bad. We liked him, but the song, and we still don't regret that option. But yes, so maybe this proves that even people with terrible artwork can be successful later. I don't know what this proves, but makes you really think, doesn't it? So Martin, let's stick with your plan, shall we? Yes, right then. Oh dear. Anyway, so other ways to make money. As a record label, I said it's not just about releasing records. It is, but there's a whole lot of other stuff you can do as well. So, licensing. Does anybody want to give me a definition of licensing? What is licensing? What's your name?
Ben.
Ben. Okay. Do you want to have the mic, Ben? What's licensing?
Taking someone else's published track and releasing it yourself.
That's exactly what it is. So in its that's it. So thank you, Ben. In its traditional form, it will be something like signing someone to a record deal. If someone gets a record deal, it's normally the likes of it's a licensing agreement where you are licensing the permission of licensing your music to be released by someone else. So when they get signed, you sign a licensing deal. Now, a lot of bands will do this in different territories. Like with you guys, you might have a deal in Germany, a deal in the US, or whatever. That's quite common. The next thing is development. Now, for instance, with Sam Smith, if he was on a development deal, that would have been a pretty sweet earner for someone. I'm not saying do it for the money. They would have been doing it because Sam is a very good singer. So they would have been developing the artist. Now, normally development agreements are weighed much more towards the label. And can anyone think of why that is?
They're the ones investing the money.
That's exactly what it is. So if you're investing in something, then you're taking all the risks. Now, it's not to say that development deals are a rip-off to the artist. It shouldn't, it isn't, and it never should be. But it's the label that are taking all the risks financially and otherwise. So they will invest money in an act, do some recording, do some production with them, just like trying to develop them to the next stage. That's another way of making money. And after that, you can either sign them yourself or sign them onto another label, as Sam did. I mean, if you developed Sam Smith and got him signed to a major, you'd have made a nice bit of coin. So there we go. Next thing is management. If you have a label, you can also manage bands. So this might be just, I mean, it's good. It might be as in, you know, local guys, you just want to help out or whatever, but maybe it's touring acts and you want to manage them and get them gigs and find them more revenue stream. Because bear in mind, you will get 20 to 25% of their income on a management deal, and you'll be using your connections and your infrastructure to be able to create revenue streams for these acts, which flows into you, your money into you. And for one thing, it provides money, puts money into your label, so you can channel it into doing what you really, really want to do with your label, which may be release your own music, which may be sign a bunch of bands, who knows what it is. So synchronization. And again, anybody give me a definition of what, this is the tougher one, anyone give me a definition of what synchronization is?
Syncing music to TV and film.
It is, Craig.
Matched up to film,
That's it.
TV and radio.
He knows a lot, this guy, doesn't he? Well done, Craig. Thank you.
I've been to a lot of these, that's why.
All right, fair enough. Yeah. So synchronization is it's from the old. It's synchronizing music to TV. But in real terms, it means getting your music placed in film and TV. It means, but it branches out into, normally the people that do sync, whether it gets licensed up into film and TV, will also get you money for performing live, because venues need to pay a due to performing in live societies. So every time you play live, you're due a certain amount of money depending on the size of the venue. So you need to make sure you join the PRS or whatever. There's only one company we ever recommend for this, and one company we only recommend in general for this kind of stuff, or anything which is centric music, which is SENTRIC. SENTRIC Music. They're a Liverpool company as well, and they do sync and live stuff and whatever for unsigned bands and independent labels. So make sure you're getting paid for live, because if you don't, Adele's going to get it. So there you go. Good girl, but the money's yours. Go and get it. And also extra money on downloads and physicals and stuff. So synchronization. Merchandise. Massive industry for the right kinds of bands who are selling T-shirts, yo-yos, pens, journals, whatever they're selling. That all needs, because you're licensing likeness rights and intellectual property and all that rubbish, you need to have that kind of stuff in place. And a 360 deal. Now a 360 deal, again, throughout to the audience, not you, Craig, because you should be up here, frankly. Anybody tell me what a 360 deal is? Craig, put your hand down. Okay. Anybody? Right, next to Craig. Craig, what's your name, sir?
Joshua.
Joshua, do you want to pass the mic back to Joshua? Do you want to tell us what? If you get it wrong, doesn't matter. Just wondering, what's the 360 deal?
I think it's when they sign, like back in the day, they used to sign artists and they'll just make money off your music, but now they sign you and they get a cut of your touring, your merchandise, and all that other stuff.
That's exactly what it is, Joshua. Thank you. Yeah. So traditionally, back in the 80s and whatever, it used to be that maybe 90s that the label would own the copyright to the music, but stuff like the T-shirts or the live sales, the band would get all of them or a higher percentage of them and so forth. But due to the economy and the way the industry is now, a lot of people are going for 360 deals, which means the label has a cut of absolutely everything. Is it a good or bad deal? Who knows? In this economy, it's hard to say what's a good or bad deal because the tables have changed. Everything's changed now. So, but that's what it is. 360 deal, it is getting quite popular. So, where is the money in digital sales? Here's where you're actually going to learn something. So, I took our sales data as a representation of the independent music industry, because we have a hell of a lot of artists and we release most of the music in this country from independent artists. So this is a pretty good summarization of where the money is coming from when it goes back to artists. So this is where artists are earning money from. Okay, there we go. So while you write a few figures down, because this is actually kind of interesting. What's interesting about this for me is when I first did show something like this 3 years ago, that iTunes figure said 80%, and now it says about 50. Spotify at the time was 7%, and now it's 30. Amazon stayed about the same, but so iTunes actually going down in market share for independents anyway. I mean, we handled Stormzy and Lady Leisha. So for instance, Stormzy with his last track, Shut Up. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, solid track. Yeah, we released that. So with that one, it's got 30 million streams on Spotify, something insane on Spotify. The downloads obviously very good, but the streams on Spotify for that market absolutely through the roof. So that's just where, I'm not going to go into this is streaming rights stuff because that's a whole different thing, and frankly I'm bored of talking about it. But when I used to do this lecture before to some other guys, we talked about it a little bit, and I had one word on the screen, and that summed up what people should do about streaming. Adapt. If Stormzy's fan base are on Spotify, put your music on Spotify. That's about it. I mean, a lot of artists will put their music on YouTube. On YouTube, yeah, you get some little streaming royalties these days, but every single artist will put their video on YouTube and then whine about Spotify. If anything, according to that, 30% of your money is coming from Spotify in the first place. And like, if you hear a new band, Where does anybody here, when they hear a new band, the first place they look for more information is Spotify? Anybody? I do. Quite a lot of people do. That's it. Are you going to invest a tenner in their album? Probably not. Are you going to just listen to it online, and if you like it, you'll buy it? Yes. And you know, bands are still getting paid for this, and as you can see, it's 30% of their income. So nothing to sniff at there. We also cover Beatport and Juno and those kind of dance stores. I see Beatport, obviously they're the biggest one. Juno also. Does anybody use Beatport or Juno for their? Yeah, good people. Do you download WAV or MP3? I'm just curious. Anybody? WAV.
Yeah.
Good luck. Cool. Right then, how much do stores pay you? So we're looking at the main stores now, and this is how much you get from stores. So we got iTunes, and Apple Music, Amazon, Google Play. So they pay. You earn 70%. So this is how much you get. You get 70% back in your pocket from an iTunes sale on a track. 50% on an album. For some reason, you get less off an album than in a track. I don't know what the hell that's about. Amazon, 50-50, that seems pretty decent. Google Play, 60-70. So you'd actually earn more money if your track was on iTunes and your album was on Google Play. But there we go. The other money, they don't keep it, all of it. They probably take about 10%. Now the rest of it goes into mechanicals and card fees and this and that or whatever. But there you go. So this is how much you get on a stream from Apple Music. Okay, let's put this into context, shall we? This is how much this is, by the way, this is in the UK. This is how much you get on a stream from Spotify. That may look like very small numbers, but if you look at it, that's actually significantly more than Apple Music. And Google Play, not so much. Well, you get that, but the locker, yeah, you're not doing so well. So that is how much money you are getting from these kind of people. So the next thing we're going to look at is promotion. Now, does anybody handle their own promotion, or do you ever use booking aid, like PR agencies, things like that? Firstly, anybody do their own promotion? Okay. James, yes. So what kind of avenues do you do for promotion? What do you do?
Facebook, to be
okay.
honest.
Do you do like boosting posts, adverts, things like that?
boosting posts, targeting posts,
okay.
things like that.
Have you used like Instagram or Twitter or anything like that?
Yeah, we use Instagram and Twitter, but we don't pay as such for the promotion on there. It's mostly Facebook.
Okay. Do you think you have a do you work out a strategy for them, or do you just sort of post whatever you feel like on the time?
No, really. They're just timed in at the time that we've got an event coming up or we've got something happening. Okay, cool.
Does anybody else use like an agency or another company to do it for them? Do they hire like a PR company or anything like that? Anybody ever hired a PR agent? Oh, Ben.
Yeah.
Right, tell us about your experiences with hiring PR companies.
It was hired by the record label.
Okay.
I was signed to, and it was a little. They didn't really ask us about anything about who we were or anything. I think really they did a pretty bad job, but they didn't. They just kind of went, right, okay, we'll do mail shots to all these people and we'll send copies of your record to various DJs and promote it that way, which is what they did, which it worked, but there wasn't the press side of it. They didn't really do a lot because they didn't ask us or talk to us, there wasn't any communication to say, what do you want? So it was just kind of, but that was my experience.
Yeah, that's unfortunately a few agencies are like that. They'd rather take your money than actually do a decent job.
Yes.
Last year I was talking at the because we started doing PR and social because bands wanted it, and we'll only work with bands we know we can actually get something for when we talk to them, have meetings with them, and do it. Whatever. You know, me being doing this for 10 years and 10 years in a band before, we know that stuff is definitely important. And I put something up on the screen. And actually, I didn't talk it was 2 minutes. I didn't talk for the first minute. Then I put this up, and it said every PR agency has ripped you off. Got a heckler, and I got someone wanted to fight me afterwards, which was great. There we go. So reason I said that was our experience of working with, obviously not all, certain PR agencies out there, is that when it comes to invoice time and how much is it going to cost. The answer is normally, how much money have they got? Do you think that's fair? So you as an artist, say if you have some kind of fund behind you, they will charge you more than the next guy coming through the door. If you go into Starbucks on the way home, which don't do because it's really late and I'll keep you up. But if you go into Starbucks on the way home and you get what I normally get, which is an iced Americano with a bit of stuff in, it'll be about £2.9. Call it £3. If I go in there and it's £3, and then you go in there after me and it's £4, is that fair? We both bought exactly the same thing. So why are you paying more than I am? It doesn't make sense. So far as I'm concerned, the PR industry should be one price. Gives you this. It's a service, and they should put the effort in, whether you're a big band or whether you're a small band. You're paying the money the same as everybody else is, and they should have meetings with you. They should look into the meanings behind the album. They should look into who you are as an artist. If you're looking at social media interaction, that is entirely about, as we discussed earlier, about brand identity. It's about conveying who you are as an artist, who you are as a label, who you are as a producer to everybody that's out there. And when I was in a band and doing this stuff 10, 12 years ago, there was nothing like that. So in that respect, it is a golden time if you do it correctly. If we wanted to get a fan in London, we'd have to go down to London, play a show, hope someone turned up, and then even if they liked us, they couldn't get our record and they'd forget who we were by the next day. But now, because if you do it right, for instance, who plays live regularly here? Anybody? I say regular, once every couple of months, a few times a year. What's your name, Jet? What's your name? Will. Okay, so Will, do you want to pass the mic to Will? So Will, how often do you play live?
I DJ normally twice a week, generally.
Oh wow, yeah, you are quite regular. Cool. So there's something that's for bands who play in that amount of time, maybe for like other indie kind of bands as well. Something they should be doing. Not sure if you'll do this, Will, but then again, maybe it doesn't work with the DJ, is having someone go around the audience and sign people up for a mailing list, for instance. Obviously, in a club environment, that's not exactly suitable. But is there a way of you accessing the audience who are currently there, getting them on the mailing list and so forth, and then emailing stuff at them? It's just basic things like that. It's basic 101 stuff that bands can be doing. So we'll move on. Thanks for that. We'll move on with promotion. We're going to the next one. Is it good enough to have? Is it enough to have a good song? Yes and no. You need a great song, but if no one's ever heard it, what's the point? I don't mean what's the point, because obviously if it pleases you in your studio, that's fantastic. But if you've got a great song and no one's heard it apart from maybe your mum and your dog, then what's going to happen? Absolutely nothing, which is why you need to work on the promotion. Now, as a definition, promotion isn't just about telling everybody you already know that you've got a record out. Most of promotion is telling people you don't know that you've got a record out. Because all the people who know you are probably going to buy your record anyway or not. The whole point of it, promotion, is mainly for getting new people in that don't know you exist yet. So let's have a look at how we can do that. So here are 5 steps to create media opportunities. So the first one we can talk about is researching your demographic. So does anybody want to... Actually, no, I won't do that story. I'll do another... No, I won't do that story. It's not relevant. I have so many stories. So if you were... if you just signed One Direction, then you can leave. Well, if you signed One Direction, and would you put out a vinyl? No. Exactly. Why would you not put out a vinyl?
Because the kids that are listening to have probably never, some of them have never heard of vinyl.
Exactly.
Let alone own it.
That's exactly. As Craig said, the people who listen to One Direction do not buy vinyl. Simple as that. If you have certain experimental or that kind of music, that's big in vinyl. There's a friend of mine told me a story about an artist he knew who he made a song, put it onto a CD, put it into a CD player of a car, crushed the car into a cube, and released the cube edition of One, and made a whole load of money. Did he sell it to One Direction fans? No. He knew his demographic, and he realised that there is a market for this kind of product. Now, maybe you're scratching your heads thinking, who the hell will buy a car crushed into a cube? But if you know your demographic, then you will work out what to sell them. How do you get demographic? How does the demographic get? Yes. So how do you actually provide information to the demographic. If they're going back to One Direction, is it through Snap? They're probably too big for this. If you've got a pop band, is it through Snapchat? Snapchat is something that teenagers and early 20s are using. That's massive for them. If your following is on Twitter, if your following is on Facebook, if it's following is on Instagram, look at where your demographic are, and then use talking points your demographic are interested in. What's a common interest for? I'm terrible with names. James, what would you say of the people that could be into your music? What's a common interest for them? Just doesn't matter what music aside. Okay, anything but music. What is a common interest for people who might like your music?
Clubbing, raves, things like that. I guess that's still music, isn't it? Really?
Yes and no. It's lifestyle.
Yeah.
Lifestyle is great. So thank you, James. So with the lifestyle stuff, are you talking to people about their recent clubbing experiences? Are you talking to them about what new vinyl they've bought? With social media, it's not all about you. To an extent it is, but a lot of it is about engaging people and communicating branding and getting people talking about the common interests and the common lifestyle stuff. Like if they're interested in clubbing, it's what clubs you've been to this weekend, what was the last vinyl you bought, what was the last thing you played when you were DJing and got the best reaction from the house. All that kind of stuff. That just goes into building the brand and building the communication with the artists, which is very, very important. Yes, so whoever you think your demographic is, you're probably roughly right, but can you extend it to other demographics? If I look at this room, there's there's a cross-section of gender, culture, and age. And yet all of you are here for roughly the same reason. Is that interesting? It's not all a certain type of person here, which means your demographic isn't always going to be a certain type of person. So just be aware of that and don't try and pigeonhole you when you're selling your music or whatever it is to a certain type of person. Extend your demographic. Use topical issues that are in the press. If it's, say, if he's talking about clubs, is there like a recent thing that's been on the news to do with a club? Did a club in Manchester get raided? Did some DJs put out a record that just is terrible? Whatever it is, there's going to be stuff that's going to be in the press that you can be talking about. Also, good thing for Facebook ads is using stuff like this as well. Because if people are interested in it's the formula of if you're interested in this, you'll be interested in this. So drawing people in by common talking conversations within the lifestyle and the demographic of the people you're trying to reach. The worst thing you can do on a Facebook ad is have a picture of yourself. I'm sure you're very pretty and your mum loves you, but no one knows who you are yet, and that's the entire point of advertising. Is drawing people to click that button and go through to the landing page, which shows you what it is. By the way, when you click an ad, always go through to the landing page. If you go through to the front page of your website, people will just get lost and have no idea what they're doing there. The way that kind of funnel, we call it a sales funnel, the way that kind of stuff works is, for instance, if you're doing Facebook ads for production, say you want to do some producing or engineering or recording for some bands, you would have your Facebook ad, and depending on what it is, say if you want to get some rock bands in, the Facebook ad you use will be slightly different to attack that kind of person. When it goes through to a landing page, which is a self-contained page which has all the information you need on it, that's the definition of landing page, and then it would be catered to that person. If you're looking to get some EDM acts or some kind of that kind of stuff, you would have it look in a certain way, funneled to the same way. Gentlemen, you had a question?
No,
your hand moved. Okay, cool. It's a beard thing, isn't it? Yeah, I know, yeah. Anyways, so...
Thanks, Kyle.
So, the sales funnels, just make sure when you got your ads, they're actually going somewhere that's suitable for your demographic. And lastly, piggyback off other artists' success. So if there's a scene that's erupting in your local town, if there's something in the genre of music you're doing, if something exciting is going on, then there's no harm in talking about it. Or say there's a DJ who's one of your contemporaries, if he's doing well, talk about that. It's always good to piggyback at other people's success. So a few ways to communicate your message. So first thing is a single premiere. Now when you're putting a record out, you can try and get a premiere on like a first play kind of thing on various online or print things. For instance, we do a lot of them with Q Magazine online or with Vice Magazine or whatever. So there'll be like the first play of your video is exclusive to Vice or is exclusive to whoever it is, or DJ Mag or anything like that. So that's the first thing, just to kind of, because when you're releasing a single, the whole point of it is leading up to the release date. Unfortunately, a lot of release dates I see is tomorrow or today. There really isn't any point in recording a song tonight and putting it out tomorrow, because who's going to buy it? It may be the greatest song you've ever done, but no one knows it exists. And there's billions or whatever songs on iTunes. No, it's very hard to browse. You'll tell your friends about it, you might tweet about it and get a couple of sales, but the whole point of it is taking 6 to 8 weeks, doing a proper build-up, because that's how long a PR campaign is going to take, and you'll need to get your media outlets sorted out, maybe get some PR people on, get some radio on. If there's, for the dance guys, there's a company called Power Promotions who are very good. Speak to them, and they cycle your record to known DJs to get feedback and get spins off them and so forth. People like Power Promotions, really, really good guys. They specialise in the dance industry. Get your record out, getting it played in clubs, and also getting reaction from labels and known DJs. So you can have, constructive criticism, or you can, we love this record, we played it in our club. That kind of stuff is, it's good. It's good to take to press as well, because by the time you get to Vice magazine or whatever, oh, this record's hot in this club and this club and this DJ loves it. It fuels that press machine. So video premiere, kind of already talked about. So has anybody done their own music video here? Oh,
A couple.
okay. Lady next to you put your hand up. Okay, tell us all about what's your name.
Yael.
Say again.
Yael. It's Y-A-E-L split in the middle.
Fantastic. Yeah. Brilliant. So tell us about your music video experience.
Well, since I'm, among other things, also a video editor, I've pretty much done it myself.
Okay.
It was very well, the type of music that I've done back in the day was folky, very, mainstreamy, light kind of thing. So it wasn't a big concept, wasn't a big production, very low budget. But I've done some other things for other people. Each was very different according to style, genres, and what they wanted, and the budget.
Cool.
Basically.
So the question is, when you did your video, what did you do next?
Well, it was a part of a whole project, so it wasn't standing on its own. It had a few single premieres going with it.
Awesome.
It was one of the singles that was the video for, so it was part of the whole, promotion concept rather than just on its own.
Sure.
So it was kind of scheduled within events up to like the launch of the album.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did you find that having the music video helped your single release, or looking back on it, you're thinking, well, I'm not sure I should have done that? What do you think?
It's definitely helpful in a way that visuals always catch the eye easier. It's easier for people to click on visuals, whether it's video or just an image.
It's true. It's true.
It just catches the eye easier. And if you've got a good video, it's more likely to be watched all the way through, rather than sometimes you've got a good song and people don't listen all the way through. But if you've got a very good video, I find that they actually follow through and look for other things that you've done.
Sure. Does anybody agree with that? Yeah. It turns out that one of the thank you, Vio. That one of the I think like the biggest music search engine or whatever is YouTube. British biggest YouTube music service, because people will Google the song, and as you know, the top of the Google search is the YouTube video, and they go straight through it to that. So it's the easiest, because most people, when they're looking for a song, they might know the artist, they may not know the title anyway. They'll go through and they'll go straight through to YouTube. So make sure your stuff is on YouTube, and it's the first thing they say. Another thing, a brief thing, this is a little bit boring, but make sure it's labeled correctly. And make sure the metadata is correct, because you actually want people to find this. That's the entire point of it. So yes, with the video stuff, just because you're an independent artist doesn't mean you can't do the video. In the same way that we're talking to Toy Martin about doing your artwork and what terrible artwork can happen. And I'm sure I've got a few videos I can show you that are just terrible as well. But it's about sitting down with the director, going over the concept of the song, finding, organising something. It doesn't have to be a massive budget. All you need is a decent idea and something that portrays the song, something you're happy with. And going back to demographic, there's a reason why, Backstreet Boys videos in the 90s, they're all walking around in white robes in slow motion, because that's what 14-year-olds wanted to see. And, there's videos for, metal is a lot of guys in a forest somewhere, in Norway, just banging it. That's just what it is. But you know, the videos are so important for independent artists. They are affordable, and when you have the budget for it, you really should. Online and print reviews. So, do any of you guys read any online blogs or magazines or anything like that? Neil. So, what do you read?
Resident.
Oh, sorry. Do you want to pass the?
Yeah.
Depends on how many magazines you're going to tell us. Seems like a wasteful one. What do you read?
The main one that I use is Resident Advisor.
Okay. Why do you read that?
'Cause it's specific to the music that I listen to.
Okay. So if you read something on there, would you always check out the music or?
Depends on the write-up, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. There's a lot of service. Thank you for that. There's a lot of services that act as tastemakers. So for the same reasons Neil would have a look on that site, wouldn't it be good if your music was on that site as well? Because then people apart from your mum and your dog would actually know you exist and will be able to listen to your music. Obviously, you get a good review. Sure you would, and then that would be the machine for taking you to the next level and people actually buying your music, and you seeing some revenue come in. And there's nothing to be ashamed of trying to make money in music, because you know what? It keeps the lights on. Any musician who is making it as an artist is earning money. That doesn't mean you have to sell out. That just means you have to work out a way of selling stuff to people, whether it's a car crystal to a cube, or an autumn mixtape or record or whatever it is. Just working that out. Also, interviews. So if you can get some interviews with local radio, for instance, there's a good local radio and set up within Manchester. That's really stable. Also, obviously Liverpool and London. That's great as well, and with magazines and online stuff too. So I'm actually going to finish about 15 minutes early, but we do have questions afterwards, obviously. So the next thing I will say is the best advice I can give you is effects. There we go. Start now. Now the reason I say this is, and I say this to when I go to unis, I say this, and I normally say how many years have you got left on the course. So I might as well ask that. How long is your course before you finish it?
Varies for different people, I guess.
Sure.
Some people are on for a year, some people 2 years, and people are at varying points through that.
Cool. So some people are finishing in this year, some people are finishing next year, and whatever. So if you're going to go out there into the big wide world of the music industry, the day after you leave this place, you'll walk out the door, yay, I've finished, I've got this qualification, I've got all this experience, and then start knocking on doors, you're not going to get anywhere. What you can do is whatever you want to do after you leave this place, you should have already started it by now. And if you haven't, get a move on. If you want to start DJing, if you want to start DJing in places, and you'll do what Will's doing, which is playing twice a week, you're already doing it. If you want to run a label when you finish this place, why haven't you started it already? If you want to start producing and recording and engineering and stuff, why are you not in a studio tomorrow night already? You have to start now. And also you can build your LinkedIn profile, for instance. So that is actually very easy to rig. Here's how you rig a LinkedIn profile. Sidestep there is because LinkedIn still works on the old search engine way of who has the most of that word in a page. It does. So if you're looking for who is looking to do recording and engineering and stuff like that, recording other people. Ben. So for instance, you're looking at recording and engineering. So where do you live, Ben? Do you live in Manchester?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so if someone's looking for Ben, for instance, and they go onto Google, and they wouldn't know Ben exists yet, firstly. If they're looking for Ben services, they went to Google, what would they type in? What do you think, Ben?
Engineering production services.
Yes, okay, sure. Engineering production services. Now you have a list of stuff from Aberdeen straight through to London. So, but they're in Manchester. So they search again. What do they search for this time?
Manchester.
Yes. So they search for engineering production services, Manchester. That's kind of how that whole kind of search thing works. If you apply that principle to LinkedIn, then it means during your CV, now in my CV, I've invented jobs pretty much, just to put in certain keywords like independent music or starting record label or whatever, because the more times that keyword is on the page, the higher you will rank in the search for whatever your keyword search is. So we've done a little exercise there about finding out what keywords mean, and it's, for instance, production engineering, whatever it was, Manchester. That's it, because people don't know who you are yet. There was no point in getting your name to the top of Google, because people don't know who you are. That's the entire point of this thing, is working out what people are looking for. If it's, I don't know, Will? Sorry, just pass the mic on to Will. What kind of nights do you DJ in Manchester? What kind of music is it?
Well, I play dubstep and grime, but I play all around the world.
Okay, cool. Oh, sorry. So someone's, for instance, is looking for a dubstep and grime DJ in Manchester. So they want to start a new club night. They don't really know any DJs. They want to get someone involved. Say, for instance, with your LinkedIn profile or like Facebook page or website or whatever, then you would have a lot of the keywords of dubstep, grime, DJ, Manchester, because those are the keywords that someone is looking for. Put that stuff into LinkedIn. And also it works in real time as well. The more you put these words in the page, you can refresh, look for your keyword search, and your name will just climb higher and higher and higher. But there is a warning in this. There is a caveat on this. If your page just says production and design Manchester over and over again, people are probably not going to trust you. So try and contextualize it, please. Otherwise people think you're crazy. So that is how to rig LinkedIn. Slight deviant, but it's all good stuff. Anyway, so the main thing about starting now is whatever you want to do, by the time you finish this, there is no reason why you can't start it now. And, okay, the next shot, could we not broadcast it, but I'll just show the room? Yeah. Is that okay? Renette? Good? Yeah. Yeah, good, okay. That's my email address. So, if you guys ever need any kind of guidance or connections or contacts, or you just want to chat about anything, that's my email address. Please do drop me a line. I will reply to you, and I honestly will help you as much as I can. I'm used to, I mean, you guys are in the same kind of position, many of you that I was many years ago when we were, you know, we're different kind of setup. We were musicians trying to make it and whatever. And if I had anyone at all I could have talked to in the music industry that would steer me in the right place or do a favour for me, then we would have got a lot further than we did. So that is it. So I'll turn it back to the one before that, and we can go back to the screen now. There we go. Right, and that's about it. So, yes. Any questions from you lots? Thank you. So, any questions about anything at all in life?
Okay.
Gentleman over there, what's your name?
Duncan.
Duncan, okay. Question, Duncan?
Firstly, absolutely awesome. Really good.
Thanks.
But you talked a lot about Spotify, a lot about promotional services and how you can get your name out there. You never mentioned, I don't think you never mentioned SoundCloud, which is, for us, I think everyone would agree, it's kind of our go-to place to promote ourselves, but there's a lot going on with SoundCloud at the moment, with negotiations with labels, and there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that would suggest it might be losing its edge as a place to go to promote your music. And I'm just kind of, because you didn't mention it, I'm kind of interested to know, was that intentional?
Nothing. I mean, I've known Spotify for SoundCloud for many, many years. Obviously, at the moment, there's some legal stuff maybe they're involved in. The limit, SoundCloud and Spotify are kind of two different animals. Spotify is for records that are released. SoundCloud is for music that's thrown up there for whatever reason. Within the dance industry, if you're throwing up a certain mix, or that's your way of communicating with people, then absolutely use it. Also, you need to be aware of any samples you're using or anything like that. It is still a viable thing, but realistically, for the general population, it probably is going to be, I feel anyway, maybe I'm wrong, it's going to be Spotify. If they're looking for a certain artist. Now, I'm talking about mainstream culture here. Within mainstream culture, if they hear Stormzy shut up on the radio, the first thing they're going to do is go to Spotify. And you're absolutely right. Within your community, probably maybe there is a SoundCloud thing. Do you use it much yourself? And what do you do with it?
Actually, you've kind of made the point there. It's the first place I would upload music to, generally to share with other artists that I know or work with. So you've kind of answered it. I mean, it's for me at least, it's for sharing my music with other people within the industry rather than somewhere where I would kind of think about releasing music.
Sure.
So yeah.
I'll tell you what we use SoundCloud for, because we do PR and plugging and social media and stuff for a whole bunch of bands. And we use SoundCloud for sending to private links to magazines and media outlets. We always use a private SoundCloud link. Or if I speak to Beatport regularly about setting up features for some of our artists, obviously that's very good for the kudos and the, just the look of having something on Beatport. And they always want to hear the SoundCloud link to get a preview of that. But obviously, as we think we've agreed, mainstream population are always going to go to Spotify. But SoundCloud, I hope they sort the legal troubles out, because it's a great service for certain demographics. Anyway, any more questions? Thank you, Duncan. Yes, sir. What's your name?
Rahil.
Rahil. Okay. Pass the mic to Rahil. What's your question, Rahil?
So obviously, I think over the past 10, 15, 20 years, you've had ups and downs.
Yeah.
And you've come out really successful. But do you truthfully ever miss being a musician?
Okay, so a year or so ago, maybe a year ago, I had one of those other moment of clarity things again. Thanks for the question. Is I was thinking of why exactly it was that I was in a band, and was it I was this musician that had all these creative things to give to the world and whatever. And you know what? If I'm true to myself, I don't think it was. The reason that I wanted to get in a band, firstly, it was a good hobby when I was 18 or 19. It was a bit of fun. Me and my brother and a few other guys used to go make a lot of noise. And then my brother started making music, writing songs, and it turned out they're actually pretty good. And people liked them, we started having fans and whatever. But if I look back at like all the heartache and the stress and the time that went into the last few years of us being in a band, trying to get signed or whatever, the reason I was doing all that stuff was because I didn't want the same life as everybody else I saw on the estate. Because everybody I went to school with, most of them are in prison. Most people I grew up with on the estate in Birmingham, likewise, or they're in a dead-end job they hate, in a relationship they're probably not happy with, and I just didn't. I mean, my whole career was working in IT. Before years and years ago, before I started this, before Dolan Aitchison fired me. Not bitter. Well, I was doing that, and I used to work for 3 to 6 months here and there, and I like that because I didn't have to get too integrated into office life. Now, here's something that's insulting to most people, is that you guys have started on a certain course now. Please do not go into office culture, because it will kill you. You will take your very inner being. The reason I didn't like working in IT was because I couldn't stand office people, because a lot of the people I spoke to, they'd just given up on life. Why is he writing this down? Oh, he's Whoa! They just, I mean, like, damn it, I got it. Was like, you'd ask them what they did on the weekend, and it was the same answer. Oh, I got really drunk, can't remember. Like, exactly. It's like, I didn't make this, like I said, I'm sure many people's parents work in offices, and that's kind of the traditional thing in British life, is everybody gets told to work in an office because apparently that's what you do. Exactly. It's rammed down your throat from when you're in school. It's like, you can't be an artist, you can't be a producer, you have to go and work in the factory, you have to go and work in an office. That's what you're told when you're a kid, and it's a load of lies. You can do whatever the hell you want as long as you try hard enough and keep going for it. But the office worker mentality is, I will do what I'm told when I'm told to do it. I mean, like, I went to Birmingham to lecture, and afterwards I was sitting in a coffee shop which was owned by two guys from Cyprus, and it was some weird sandwich thing to do with olives and feta. No idea what the hell was going on, and a really nice iced coffee next to it. And outside there was a queue of 20 people queuing for Greggs in the rain. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? And it was just a bunch of office workers who come out of the building, go straight into Greggs. And there's me in a deserted cafe eating some really nice food. And because people do train to do what they're told, which is work in an office, or back in the day, work in the factory, work in the mines. You don't need to do that stuff. You've already started in that. So please, even if a couple of years down the line, if you're thinking, I'm not sure if this music thing is working or whatever, just keep going. And if I can, I'll be around for the next 30 years. If I can help you, I will try and make a career out of this thing, because
What's the other option? Having Greggs for lunch, working in an office, talking to Marge about her piles. It's just, or you could do what Will does, and you could DJ around the world. Or you could do what James does, and you could make his own music and be on the path of signing it to labels and making a career. That's a hell of a lot more exciting than working for Dole Engine Aitchison. There we go. Any more questions? Thanks for that. Joshua. Okay. Knew something biblical. I was about to say Samuel. Anyway, Joshua.
Yeah, so right now, I'd say, so as an artist, I'd say as a grime MC in the ilk of like a Stormzy or Lady
Yeah.
Leisha. And recently, like around end of last year, I put out my own project. So I like produced on it, wrote everything, and so forth. I put it out myself, put it out through TuneCore. My bad. I didn't know about you guys until today. I put it out through TuneCore and did a promotion and so forth. And I kind of feel like I've pushed it to everyone I know, and I've like hit the boundary, do you know, in that sort of sense. And it's like now I'm trying to get it outside of that boundary and get it to people that I don't know. So it's like, how do I do that? And what's the most effective ways to be doing that, I guess? Because I'm not like a band. I can't gig every weekend kind of thing. So like, I'm putting on my own show, like maybe sometime around June. I'm going to self-fund, but I can't do the gigs and live shows and so forth. So what do you think would be the best or most efficient way?
Sure. That's kind of something that we specialise as a company, is taking artists and no one's heard of them and getting them somewhere. The key to a lot of this is social media. It's finding out, looking at your demographic, people who will be interested in music, what social media platform are they on? What do you think, Joshua? People will be interested in music, what social media are they on? Is it Facebook, is it Twitter, is it Snapchat, what is it?
It's probably like Instagram, Twitter, that sort of thing, I guess. Okay. Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. Given a choice, I would go on Instagram. Personally, Twitter is a good medium, but I find it very negative. And it's, I don't know, I'm not... I could tell you the science of how to be really good at it and get a load of followers, but I'm not a fan personally. But with Instagram, you know, since they started doing the 15-second video clips, that's a good way of people being able to listen to your music. Because before, when it was images, people would just see what you look like, and that's all very well. But as an artist, you want people to hear you as well. So if you're on Instagram and you look at, I said we do this with a team of people behind us, so this is kind of hard to convey for one person to do. But as I was saying to, I think it was James earlier, about looking at what people are talking about online. What is it that, you know, as a certain grime MC got a new mixtape out, you know, look at what the hashtags that people are talking about. If there's a location that's a common club or something where there's always a grime night on, look at the locations on Instagram where people are posting from, and engage with them. Because if they like into that kind of scene, that kind of lifestyle, then they're probably going to be into your stuff as well. So when we have a team of people that reach out to hundreds and hundreds of people a day doing all that kind of stuff and engaging people on the basis of where they post from and what their hashtags are and all that kind of sciencey stuff. But with you yourself, I mean, can you think of for instance, a venue that has like a grime night where people will post pictures from? Because obviously when you post it, it shows you your location. Not off the top of my head. Right, okay, have a look at place in London. There's probably some stuff down there. But apart from that, look at different artists. You know, what is it? Is it hashtag Stormzy? I mean, that's probably got quite a lot of it. You know, look at stuff like that, or hashtag Leisha or whatever. Then looking at what people, the picking of people that post hashtag Stormzy, they might be interested in your stuff. So have a look at them, engage in conversation with them. And as I said before, well, it's the same principle as when you're meeting someone face to face, as when you're talking to people online. The best thing you can do is try and make a friend out of them. Because the first thing you say is, I see you like Stormzy, listen to my music. Shut. No, that's it. You're done. You're done. Whereas if you start saying, oh yeah, I think that record's really cool as well, or just, you know, whatever it is that's natural for you to say, to engage them in conversation, that's what you do. And they will look at your profile and they will realise you're an artist and listen to it because they want to, not because you've told them to do it or because they're sick of you pestering them and they're just trying to get you to go away. They'll do it because they want to, and that's the best reason to have a fan, is because they've connected with you. Going back to branding and identity as well. What's the last record you paid money for, Josh? Let me check my phone. I recently bought Kano's first album, Home Sweet Home, just because I wanted to listen back to the classics and so forth. Why did you pay money for it when you could have downloaded it for free?
For me, kind of thing, when it comes to like UK artists, especially UK urban artists that I like, I find myself paying money for them. So like the Kanos, the Krypton Conan, the Skeptors. But then when it comes to American artists, I may be a bit less inclined to do it.
Okay.
It's kind of bad.
That's fine.
Like
That's fine. The point is, you're supporting the UK. Love it. So there's a reason why people pay for music when they could frankly get it for free, probably easier and quicker. And it's all part to do with your brand identity. It's because you identify and you respect that artist. You're aware of Kano, you're aware of his first album. It was a classic. You know, it's like tipping your cap in the old days. It's like, you know, showing that respect to that person. I know I like your album, I like what you've done. You know, instead of getting it for free, I'm gonna actually, you know, do that little kind of, you could call it social currency. You know, it's giving that little bit of money that's, you know, just kind of, you know, shows you're respectful or whatever. And if you can establish that with your fan base through the likes of social media, when you're talking to people on Instagram, when you're talking to people on Facebook or whatever, when you're doing your Facebook ads, and you can talk to them like real people, like imagine you're talking to them face to face, and you want to keep them in the room with you for 5 minutes, what would you actually say to them? You're probably not going to say, listen to my music, listen to my music, listen to my music, because that wouldn't last very long. If you had a mate that's all he ever said, you probably wouldn't be a mate very long. So just in this, whatever medium it is, talk to them like normal people, like you're in the club with them, or you're in the common room with them, or whatever you are. Just talk to them like normal people, please. And don't shove your music down their throat, because how many other people are probably trying to contact them to say, listen to my music, listen to my music. If you can be that guy that reaches out to people, talks to people, you know, is positive, and you know, maybe just reaches out to other artists to collaborate or help them or whatever, then you're going to be the guy that's putting out those positive vibes. Some people believe in karma, maybe not me personally, but if you're putting out, it's like cause and effect. If you're putting out the positiveness into the social ecosystem, only good things are going to come back. If you're on there bitching and whining and moaning about everybody, that's what you're going to get back. So yes, sorting out where your fans are, communicating with them, and looking at the lifestyle stuff or what they're interested to do and engaging on that one. There's about another hour I could talk about that, but you know, you've got my email address. Yeah. Send me an email and we'll follow up the conversation after, because there's a whole load of other stuff I can help you with.
Thank you.
Anything else? Oh, Neil.
Yeah, the way that the scene that I'm involved in is less about much less about plugging and promoting, more about putting out, you know, good music with good artwork. People buy vinyl in the underground techno scene.
Sure.
Now, from my standpoint, like just starting my own label, I mean, I don't know if this sounds naive. Would it be unrealistic to get a vinyl pressed and ask key shops that I'd want to put those vinyl in to sell them for me and do it myself, or should I go through a distributor and get a distribution deal?
At your level, don't go through a distributor.
Yeah.
Because you will lose 20%, 20-25% on the front of our cost. You'll also lose money in transport and so forth. When we started doing physical distribution for our bands back in 2007, I used to phone the shop directly. I used to target certain shops. What's the name of your big record shop? Is it Piccadilly Records? Is that still going? Yeah. All right. I used to phone up them back in the day. I used to phone up Rough Trade. I used to phone up Avalanche up north. And just say, this is my label, we've got this act who's coming through, they're doing this, they're doing that, can I send you a record on sale or return? And they're probably going to say yes, because record shops aren't going to buy a record off you to sell if they don't know who you are and it's not a big name. If they even do that for big names anymore, I don't know. But yes, speak to the shop directly. Personally, I would say don't go with, I'm an artist, it's my record. Say, this is my label, this is my company. Yeah. Obviously, you have a label. This is my label. We've had this artist on the label, even if it's you, doesn't matter. We like to find a stockist for this, but give them a reason to stock it. It's because there's a local fan base. You need to give them a reason why people are actually going to go and buy it. So if you're stocking London, That's all very well, but they need to know that people are actually going to buy it. And for your sake, I mean, vinyl ain't cheap. If you're going to have records and have them in every single shop in the country, in theory it's possible, but you need to make sure people are actually going to buy it. So yes, go direct with the shops, phone them up, say, I'm this label, here's the artist, here's a bit of background, can you send them to it? Send them to it with as many records as you want to give them, up to 5 at the most, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that, depending on the shop. Give them an invoice, some kind of paperwork that says, here's how many I've given you. And tick, like maybe a tally or some, tick it off when you've done it. Contact me if you want more, and maybe call them 2 weeks later and say, have you sold any of the records, how's things going? And for one thing, keep that contact, because it may be in 6 months' time there's another record you're putting out by another completely different artist you've just signed, and you want to go back to them again. It's all about relationships. If you're just phoning them up and talking to Dave because he always answers the phone, ask him what he did on the weekend, ask him how his family is. Talk about whatever record you two might like at the same time, and then he's not going to think that you're after him for whatever you can get out of him. You'll make a contact, and you'll make a connection. You'll make some kind of friend, and you'll help each other out. I mean, maybe further on when you're a bigger label and you sign this artist who's doing massive things, and then you'll be speaking to Dave, and he'll have already heard of your record, and he'll love to put it in the shop. There's people I met back in 07. Who I probably did business with last year, but it's about keeping those connections, because you never know when you can work together. So I hope that's answered it. Anyway, do it yourself. There you go. Right, anything else? You were there first, before Ben. What's your name, sir?
Oh, I was just shaking because I actually had the question this time.
All right, okay. It wasn't a beard itch, no.
Oh, sorry, Kyle.
Kyle, okay.
So I know you touched on it before at the beginning when you said, like, when you go to networking events and stuff, if you kind of promote yourself that you're a record label owner, etc., that type of thing. But when you go to these networking events, how does like a tadpole stand out in the ocean, if you like?
Sure.
Because how many other people are going to be there like me, or how many more people are going to have more experience and etc. So how do you stand out?
Sure. Most people if you walk into a room and you don't know anybody, I would give it a 3-second rule, which is if someone maintains eye contact with you for more than 3 seconds, go and talk to them and say the first thing that comes into your head. The worst thing is, it works. Got me married for so it works. So love you. So okay, just working backwards. The worst thing you can do is sit there nursing a pint and. Okay, put this in another situation. If you're out in a club and there's a girl you want to speak to, you will go up to her and she knows exactly why you're there, and it's because you want to take things further with her, not because you're interested in conversation. And it's the same kind of principle when you're speaking to someone. Don't do something that's I'm an artist, what can you do for me? There's going to be something else going on. If it's a band on stage, stand next to them and say, oh, what do you think about the band? And just talk to them like they're a normal person. That's pretty much about it. Or if in doubt, hang around the bar. That's the place where individuals will go to get drinks for themselves or other people, and you can just be standing there and talk to them. Here's another little trick: is once you get someone else that you're speaking to for the first time, try and engage. Once you know him, talk to someone else and then bring that person in. Does that make any sense? There's people you don't really know, but once you kind of expand your group, like you start talking to someone, you say, oh, Ben, I was just talking to him just now. Oh, come on over. So that just makes you seem more like you're the alpha of the group or whatever, and it's just a way of doing it. But that's just a whole... Anybody read the game?
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, yeah, I have, yeah. Yeah, that's several days of conversation, that is. But anybody who hasn't read the game, read the game. Even if you're female, just read it. It's very good for business, honestly, it is. So, did I answer anything? No, really. Okay, so, okay, if you're going to a room where... It is. It's about personal and going and having the ball to go up to someone and ask them what they think about whatever's going on. Or within networking events, there's a bit more structure to it. It's not a load of people standing in a room. It's there might be round tables, like the Sound City. They have round tables where you can you're all supposed to talk about a subject. It's not, no one really learns anything, but the point is to get people talking between themselves, and then talk to someone, introduce them to someone else. If you go to a panel, like for instance something like this, where there's 4 or 5 people on it, go up to the one or two of the people on the panel afterwards, commend them on what they've said, start talking to them about what they were talking about, share common ground, make a friend, share contact details. It's hard to say, because to be honest, I've always found that quite easy, to just go up to people and talk rubbish. Isn't necessarily a good thing, but I'm not answering this very well, am I? No. See me afterwards, we'll talk more. I'll try and figure out a decent answer. Ben?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, because you mentioned Spotify and
Yes.
iTunes, and what about Bandcamp? Or is it
Yes.
just not even on the radar? Or?
Yeah, I mean, Bandcamp isn't really on our radar. That's just, it's a good service for people to release their own music and to sell directly to fans and to gain email addresses from them and so forth. It's not as much an engine for people to get signed or whatever. It's more about connecting with your fans. Seems to be, I would venture to say, it's less about music discovery, whereas the likes of Spotify is. Like if I go on Spotify and I'll be listening to Stormzy, I'll have a look at similar artists, and I'll go through Skepta, or I'll go through gigs, I'll go through just the whole, and I'll find some artists I've never heard before, listen to them. Whereas Bandcamp tends to be more, and this is necessary, or tends to be more, the people already know you exist, and they've gone there to listen to your music or buy your music, or you promote it through channels that you already have, like other social media or your website. So it seems to be just a place to house your music, to give it a marketplace to speak to people. So if you're going to have demos of a new album, or you're going to have certain tracks you want to give away or something like that, Bandcamp, yes. If you want to expand your audience, I would say YouTube or Spotify, stuff like that. They all have different places in the market.
I mean, none of them will be exclusive anyway. So.
Exactly, yeah. You can. I mean, no harm in having it everywhere. But bear in mind, if they can get it on free on Bandcamp and they have to pay for it on iTunes, they're going to get confused. Just a thought. Anyway. Oh, what about Craig?
Mine is actually to do with artwork. I know you mentioned earlier about picking artwork, but what about when it comes to obviously paying for the artwork? Because are there any not cheap, but you don't want to pay a fortune for artwork either, so how do you come to a deal with the artist as such for that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's no real set price for doing it. What I'll say is just ask around. If I want a plumber, I ask around. If I want a mechanic, I ask around, see who's good, and get personal recommendations. Everybody in this room, out of someone, is going to know a decent designer or a decent artist that Craig can speak to. So we're not going to do connections now, but hands up anybody who knows someone that could help Craig out with his artwork. There you go. There's your answer. So whoever your circle is, ask around.
I just don't know many artists, I suppose, graphic designers myself. But
there you go. Well, all these people, and they all know somebody. So it's the same with when you're looking for recording facilities or mastering or whatever. It's always good to ask around your circle and see who knows people. As for the actual amount, I'm not sure what the rate is, but make sure you have something in writing that says who owns the rights to it. Because if they still own the rights to it, then they might come after you. Anyway, just make sure you own the rights on paper. Okay. Oh, and Craig.
Sorry, I should have asked this before.
Yep.
Apart from releasing vinyl, I probably will want to put out some stuff digitally. Probably through Beatport and iTunes.
Sure.
Being an independent small label, is it realistic for me to be able to get that music there?
Yeah, that's what we do every day. So we do iTunes and Amazon and Spotify and all that stuff. We also do Beatport as well. One of the very few, because normally Beatport are a boutique store. So traditionally, you can only get on there if your label's already on there or if your artist is already on there. But because we were set up in a certain way going back to 2008, then we have a way to get people on Beatport. So yes, absolutely. We can also secure promotion on there as well. But that goes to stuff we were talking about before, using people like Power Promotions and other like DJ feedbacks. Because Beatport are going to ask you who's playing the record. Why should I care? that kind of thing. And if you said, well, this DJ's playing it, this DJ's playing it, this radio's picked it up, here's a review of me, they'll be like, okay, actually, no, that's interesting. Because they need to see social proof, they need to see that someone else is interested in it, because they may like the music, and maybe that's the reason they'll do something with it. But at the end of the day, they need to sell records. So they need to build this entire PR package. But yes, we service Beatport and iTunes day in, day out.
Cool.
There you go. Okay. Okay, yeah, cool.
One. Some labels are asking for my music, but I don't know anything about them. Where can I find more info on them and kind of establish, what they're asking for, I suppose, in a contract? What should people be wary of?
Sure.
Yeah.
The first thing to look at is, and this goes kind of down to how you start up a label in the first place, is this person a sole trader or a limited company? If they're a limited company, you can have a look on Companies House and search all their accounts online, and it's free. So if they're Work for Successful Living records, then you can look at Companies House, look at the limited company, find all their filing information online, find out who the directors are, what their recent accounts were, and just verify they're an actual business. That's kind of the first kind of thing. And then obviously Google them, see if there's any negative feedback about them, see what other artists are on the label. Another thing that is good to do, and I do this every time I look at recruiting someone, is check out their personal Facebook. Are they a nutcase? It's true. I'll be honest, there's a few recruitment decisions have been made. You read the CV, the person looks all right, you look at their personal Facebook, and they're just an absolute nightmare. So we don't take that any further. There you go, that's just what it is. So that, and ask me, drop me an email, and I'll have either heard of them or I may know someone that's working with them. Yeah, that's about it.
I guess just one last question, unless there's some more. Just really, I guess for everyone here and online, how does Ditto Music and what you do, because I'm sure there's quite a few people interested in that. What sort of services can you offer to producers here in this room and online?
Sure.
Yeah.
Distribution, so to all major stores, including Beatport, Juno, all that kind of stuff. PR, so that's getting you in magazines, getting you online, getting you reviews and interviews and talked about. Radio plugins, so getting you onto key radio shows. And managing your social media, doing campaigns for that to get you more and more fans on Facebook, Snapchat, Vine, Twitter, whatever the hell it is. And also there's the record label in the box stuff, which is for everybody that wants to start a record label, sign themselves, sign other bands, start making money out of music. So it's, I said this before, the company exists because me and Lee had an issue 10 years ago where we wanted to put our own records out. And that's why everything we've ever done exists. We've never partnered with anybody so far because we only ever want to give stuff that artists can actually do something with. I mean, we've never launched a widget because frankly I think they're pointless. The only people they help is the company that made the widget. So we will only ever partner with people who actually have the correct work ethic. And as musicians for so long, that really is important for us. And I said about like partnerships, can you stand to be in the same room with someone? It's the same kind of thing. In creative industries, you need to be that kind of person who's gregarious, who can talk to people, and who's going to do stuff for the right reasons, which I think we do.
Cool. Have we got any more questions? We're all good to wrap it up.
Oh yeah, one.
Go on.
Cool, go on, Martin.
I like what you said about being like a friend to your fans, right? But how do you actually apply those principles in contacting record labels? Because I cannot just drop an email to the inbox saying how was your day or how.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, sure. Yeah, and the important thing is recognizing that.
Just what can I do to be sure they will listen to my music?
Okay.
Because sorry.
No, that's right. That's right. So tips for that is, for instance, Twitter have a look at who works at the label. If it's a dance label, these people probably DJ on the side or manage other bands. You can find their handle on Twitter, follow them, establish some kind of profile about what they talk about. Like in CSI and stuff, they look at the social profile of the person. It's like that. See, not in a non-creepy way. Find out what they talk about. And start engaging with them in conversation in that way online. So if they're talking about some record, you'd reply to them and say, whatever is natural for you to say to them, and you engage in conversation that way. But you don't need to tell them you're a musician because they'll already see that in your profile. And then you'll see what events they're going to be at. You might see where they're DJing. and in a non-creepy way, you might be at one of those events. This sounds bad, but it's it's like if there's a girl you like or something, and you actually want to pursue this as a relationship, you're not in her face all the time. It's more about that understated, discreet way of getting to know someone for whatever purposes you need to do in the end. So whether it's obviously don't get too personal, don't add them on their personal Facebook. That's weird. But stuff like Twitter is a very open thing. So if you're talking to like people who work at the label, sharing stories about records or talking about records or whatever, if they have an event on, make sure you're there. Start talking to people, and you'll just become known. You'll be that face. You'll be Martin, who's comes to the occasional night. And at that point, at some point, you'll drop in about your music, or maybe send them a SoundCloud link, or I guess people don't really do CDs anymore. You'll share your creative stuff with them. So you're absolutely right. If you can't blindly email people and say, by the way, this is me, listen to my music, because no one's listened to that. I get those all the time. I just delete them. But you can find another way, another medium, for instance, social media, of engaging with them personally, not in a non-creepy way, which is why Twitter's good. Because you can't really be too creepy on Twitter, because it's personal, but everybody knows it's out in the open, so nobody gets that personal on Twitter. They don't post pictures of like on Instagram, for instance, may be open, but there may be pictures of their kids. Not good to comment on that kind of stuff. But start on something like Twitter. Look at the staff, DJ, and all that kind of stuff I just said. There we go. Cheers, Martin. Oh, one more question. Gentleman in the corner. What's your name?
I'm Paul. What's the most successful person you've had on your books?
Depends how you define successful. I mean, we did Sam Smith's first stuff. We did Ed Sheeran's first stuff. We've done Royal Blood's, Catfish. Within the dance stuff, we did Chris Malinchak. We're doing on our website. I can't remember these names. There's a whole load of dance kind of people we work with. Film soundtracks here and there. I mean, we get paid the same as if they're big or if they're small. We're just a service that people use to get their records out there. But it works well for us, and it's good to see people like Ed and Sam actually make a decent career out of this stuff, because they are, especially Ed, very hard working guy. We released his first single in about 2009. It's called Saturday. It's actually still on sale. Not sure his label know that. So yeah, that's it. I mean, it's nice to work with a bigger artist, to see them do well, like Catfish. We did their stuff for years, and then suddenly they're broken, and now they're massive. But yeah, we just we help out bands as much as we can, and hopefully they'll come to better things after.
Yeah. Cool, right.
Okay,
I think that sums it up from in the room and online.
Great.
So
cool. Thank you guys for your questions.
Yeah.
Applause for you.
Cool. For everyone watching online, thanks very much.
And you.
It's been MMS Sessions at Manchester Midi School. Thank you very much, Matt.
Pleasure.
That's awesome. Cool. I'm sure people will be hanging around to chat to Matt at the end. That's cool as well.
Yes, and if you don't feel like talking to me now, just drop me an email. Yes, so